welcome to this Flow360 online training webinar, one in a series that we are running on various topics. Please, can I remind you that if there are particular subjects you would like us to cover in these sessions, that you contact us at support@flow360.net, and we will see what we can do about setting up a session for you. So today we are looking at the whole question of document management. And we're going to start by just looking at some simple things in relation to documents: how you add a document, what you can link it to, how you access that information, and how you make those documents visible to other people, how you share them. So let's start by just simply adding a document. On my front screen, and you can see I'm logged in as a manager using the Pro layout of the front screen. One of the buttons I have available is the Documents button. And if I click on the Documents button, what it takes me to is my Documents library, which has a whole mix of things in. It will have any documents that have been added to Flow360 by myself or by other people, and where those documents are made available to me to view. And we'll look a little bit later on in this session at how you control who can see documents that you add to Flow360. You can see at the top of this list, next to the Find button, we have a New button. And the New button allows me simply to add a new document. So I'm going to click on the New button now, and it prompts me to choose a file from my computer. If I was running Flow360 on a mobile device at this point, I would have another option, which is to use the built-in camera on the device in order to take a photograph. But in this case, running on a computer, I have the Choose Files option, and I'm going to do that and go to my documents on the computer, and I have a document that I want to upload. In this case, it's a particular floor plan, and I'm going to click on that and select the Choose button. That's now listed. I could go on to choose additional files at this point if I want to, but I'm just going to choose that one, and I'm going to click on the Upload button, and that file is now uploaded. Now that happened very quickly, and that happened quickly because the size of this file is relatively small. So I would like to make the point that for documents you add to Flow360, generally these are going to be used in web browsers, and they are also going to be transmitted and shared with other people by email, and therefore it makes sense just to keep the document size down as much as possible. That doesn't mean you have to go crazy and make the document unreadable by trying to shrink it to something that is too small, but just bear in mind, particularly when you're taking photographs with a mobile phone or a digital camera that has quite high resolution, you could end up with a file size of many megabytes, and it's worth reducing those down in size before you upload them to Flow360 in order that they are easily shareable through the solution. So that was simply adding a document to my document library. If I go back to my document library now, the most recent document that I've added is always listed at the top. The default sort order for this list, when you go to the documents library from the front end, the default sort order is always reverse order from when the document was added. So the most recent documents that you've added will by default be listed at the top. So that's just very simply adding a document to the document library. That document is not linked to anything currently. It's just sitting there in the library. So let's have a look at adding a document and linking it to something all at the same time. What can you add documents to? You can add documents to pretty much anything. So if we go to a site, and in the demo, our King's College site, we have a tab here that says Docs. If I click on the Docs tab, I have all sorts of documents that are already linked to my main site record. As we drill down through the site, so we go down into main school, maybe into the library, and again, we have the Docs tab. Now, that's fine. So that's for resources. What else can we do? Let's have a look at works orders, for example. If we look at any works order, again, we have a Docs tab, and that will list, of course, all of the documents that have been added to that particular works order, either at the point in time when the works order was issued or subsequently, because, of course, you can add documents, new documents to an ongoing works order, should you need to, in order to make them available to other people who are sharing access to that information. And of course, service providers, contractors, managers, other people who are involved in that program of works would also be able to add documents to that same works order from their end. Typically, that might be used by, say, a service engineer who's attended on site and completed the service of some plant or equipment and needs to upload the service certification once the work has been completed. And that, of course, they can do remotely from their own offices or from a mobile device, and that ensures that the document is linked to the works order that it relates to. So we can add documents to resources, buildings, rooms, objects in rooms. We can add them to works orders. We can also add them to contacts. So if we open up the record for a particular contact, we also have the Docs tab. And there are some special documents that we can add to particular things. So in the case of contacts, we can add a picture for that person. And I can do that as a manager, so I could do that, say, for my employees, but individual users of Flow 360, of course, might choose to personalize their own contact record. Let's just go through this process. It's exactly the same as the process we followed just to upload a new document to the documents library. I'm going to click on the image for this person, and I'm going to click on upload, and now I have that image. That placeholder will disappear next time I come back. So we can add documents to contacts, to works orders, obviously to help desk issues, pretty much anything. Inspections, bookings, lettings, accommodation, incident reports, projects, contracts, you name it. You will find a Docs tab somewhere on all of those record types. Now, there are some particular circumstances where different things happen to documents when you upload them. And one key point is what happens the first time you upload a document to a resource. And we're going to have a look at doing that. We're going to find a particular boiler, and we want to upload the reference manual for this boiler. So I've come to this record for the Quinta 85 boiler. Let's see if we've got the information for this boiler in our internal library. So I'm going to click on the link and an existing document. And the fastest thing to do is either to do a quick search, but actually I can see the service manual that I want is actually already in my library. So I'm going to click on that and click the confirm button at the top. And that's linked that service manual to this boiler. But you'll notice it's done something else. Because this is the first document that I've added to this particular boiler, it's also created a thumbnail of the document and put that in as the main image or key document for that particular object. And you can store multiple documents against objects, and you can even make decisions about which document you want to be the key image. So let's just have a look at doing that. Let's go to a record for a library. And we're going to add an image for this library. Now you can see actually there's already an image here. But we're going to add an additional document to this. So I'm going to go to choose files again, and we're going to add a floor plan. And I'm going to upload this. And I've now got a floor plan added. And if I want the floor plan to be the key image for this particular building rather than the photograph of the building, then from my list of documents, I can just click this button here, the one that looks like the arrow pointing to the screen. So it's saying use this document as the key image up here. And if I click on that, it simply puts the floor plan in as the key image instead of the photograph. if I decide, well, I've changed my mind on that, actually I prefer the photograph up there, I can go back to my photo, and again I can click the Set as Key Image button, and that replaces the floor plan with the photograph of the library instead. So when you add a document to a resource, a location, or an object in the room, and particularly if it's the first document you add to that resource, then it will, by default, provided it's a graphic image file, it will set that automatically as the key image for that object or location, which makes things much faster, particularly when you're adding, say, a number of rooms to a building and you want to include the floor plans. You can simply add the rooms, step through the rooms, and upload the floor plan to each one, and it will automatically be set as the key image and the floor plan for that location. Now, the floor plan comes into play and the key image comes into play when you start logging fault reports for a particular location. So if we wanted to say that actually we've got an issue with the library and we need to log a fault for the library, I'm just going to drill down into a room and I'm going to pick up the new help desk issue button here. And oops, I changed that. Let's go back to library. And I'm going to say, well, we've got an issue with the power in the library, and confirm that. And you can see what it's done. It's created a new help desk issue with my power out summary of what the problem is, and it's brought through that key image from the library record itself. If the key image had been a floor plan, for instance, then it might have brought through the floor plan as the primary image instead. But it brings those documents together and adds them to the help desk issue because that is the key image for that particular object or location. Adding documents to other things is all done in exactly the same way. So we can add to tasks, we can add to standard tasks, we can add to training records and qualifications. So an example of that might be you want to add a certificate to a particular completed qualification or training that an employee has completed. You can upload those certificates and make them available to other people. So we've also now just had a look at linking a document from my documents library to another object. And in fact, if we go to, if we look for other Quinta boilers, for instance, then we might say, actually want to upload that reference manual to some of the other boilers as well. So we can pick any one of these from the list, and we can simply add, using the Docs tab, we can simply add a new document to that object. If I look at the Docs tab here, I can see the service manual is added for this particular boiler. So an important thing to understand here in relation to linking documents to multiple things is you aim to have one copy of the document in your documents library, and then you can link that one copy to multiple different things. So in this case, we have the Quinta Pro Installation Service Manual, and if I go to the document record, I have a tab on the document record that says links. And on the links, I can pick up what is this document linked to. And it could be linked to many different things. It could be linked to an object or a location. If it's flagged as a key document, something we're going to look at just in a minute, then it will also be linked to incoming help desk issues or outgoing works orders. So on the links tab, you can check very quickly for a particular document, what has this document been linked to? So it's always worth remembering, if you're looking at a particular document and you see it in the document library and you think, well, I've no idea where we're using that, then go to the document record, pick up the links tab, and have a look at the links there, and it will tell you what this document has been linked to. There's an important notion here in relation to linking documents to things, and it comes back to the whole principle in Flow 360 of not being able to delete something once it has a history. So to give you an example, if we add a document to the document library, or we link a document, afresh to a new object, then we can change our mind and we can delete the document again. Absolutely fine. However, as soon as that document has had things happen to it, so for example, this document is flagged as a key document, which means it's linked to other things. It's linked to works orders. It's linked to incoming help desk issues. If I hit the delete tab on this, it will simply tell me this document is linked to multiple resources. You can't delete it. Fine. So I can't get rid of it because it has a history. But what if I want to say, well, actually, this document, we don't want to use it anymore. Or maybe this document has been superseded. We have a new version of this document. At the top right here, we can see a version button. Not everybody has access to this, so it depends who you are when you're viewing this document and what your status is in relation to the document. Because I'm linked in as a manager and because actually I'm flagged up here as the owner of this document, I can, of course, add a new version. So I might say, well, this service manual has been updated. So I'm going to hit the version button, and then I could choose a file, and it would allow me to upload a new version of that document. And then it would link the two things together. So I'm going to do that for a floor plan, just so you can see that process going through. We're going to go to a particular location here, kitchen 16. Oops, not 6. I'll go to 16. And I look at the documents here, and we've got a floor plan for kitchen 16, which I can pop open there by tapping on it. We can see it's got this arrow pointing to the location. And I might say, well, actually, the floor plan has been updated. We want to get a new version of that. So I'm going to, on the Docs tab, drill through to the document record itself, and then click on the version update. I'm going to choose files and go to my new version of this floor plan. So I click choose and I click upload, and that's all happened. It happened very quickly, but you can see that what I'm looking at now, if we look down here on the custom data tab, it's telling me that this is version number 3 of this floor plan. And this is the current version. And I can see from this red arrow pointing backwards, pointing to the left, there are previous versions. And if I click on the red arrow, which has a tooltip that comes up that simply says go to previous version of this document, I can click on that and I can go back in time to a previous version of this document. And in fact, this is in itself, this is version 2. So this version also has a link back to an earlier version of the document. So if I click on that button, I go all the way back to version 1. Version 1, clearly marked and flagged in red, this version has been superseded. So this is no longer an active document. If I look at my documents library, by default, it's not going to show me this version. It will show me the new version, the current version. And again, of course, I can click forward to version 2, and I can see that version 2 has also been superseded, and that has a green arrow pointing forward. The green arrow means this will connect you to the current version. So if I click that going forward, I see the current version of that document. This is the one that will be used from this point forward when I'm attaching the document, or if I'm attaching the document to a works order or an incoming fault report or to something else, then it's version 3 that will be attached. Let's have a look at the links tab for version 3 of this document. And we can see that this document, version 3, even though we've only just added it, has been linked to a whole number of different things. And that has happened because version 2, the previous version, was linked to all of these things, and all of these things are currently active. So let's think about that for a minute. If we've created a works order, say last year, and version 2 of this floor plan was attached to that works order, and that was sent out, and the works order's finished, completed, done, that works order will still have version 2 attached to it. But supposing we've got an open help desk issue, and version 2 of the document was attached to that, but we've now updated the floor plan to version 3. Therefore, the current version of the floor plan, the one that people would want to refer to when dealing with that issue, would be version 3. and that link has automatically been rebuilt, has been updated. So if we went back to one of these help desk issues here that's listed as events here, so we've got a check security issue, and I go to the docs tab, what I'm going to see here is the version of the document that is now the current version. And that would link me back to version 3 of that document. So those links get updated automatically when you upload a new version of a document. While we're on this document record, then let's have a look at a few things that we can do on the document record itself to control how documents are dealt with once we've uploaded them. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is the view access. The view access specifies who else can see this document. And there's a setting in my preferences which allows me to control what that is set to when I upload a new document. There are various things that happen that will override that, but in principle, if it's a document that I'm uploading and I go to my preferences say here, default view access for documents that I upload. Every user has this preference, and it's currently set to services group. Services group is essentially everybody that works with me or on my site. So I'm, as a manager, this would include employees and staff, other management, other client administrators, and all service providers and contractors that we have relationships with, where I issue a works order to them that has this a specific document attached to it. So that's the default for my documents, services documents that I upload. The other options I have here are list. List would allow me simply to say, if I upload a new document, the only other people who are going to see it are people who I specifically add to the viewing list for that document. So that means initially only I will see it, because there won't be anyone initially necessarily, and then I can add people to that list. The site group is a bit more of a restriction from the services group. The site group will include management and on-site service providers, that is, people on the internal workforce, but doesn't include external service providers or internal, just general employees and staff. The client group restricts that even further. So this restricts the document to top-level management effectively on the site, the client admin, client staff users. So it's a much smaller group of people. And finally, I could say private. Only I will see a document that I upload. Now, that's not terribly useful usually, so as a default for a manager, services group is a good option. Let's go back to that document record then. So on the document record, because I just uploaded it, it's set to services group automatically. And you can see that this document is flagged also as a key document. Now these two things sort of link together. Key document means this document will be uploaded and attached to any works orders that I issue that are linked to a location or object that this document is also linked to. So that's what the key document flag does. Beyond that, and underneath the key document flag, we also have key document for help desk issues. Now, if that one is checked, then this document will be automatically linked to incoming fault reports or service requests for any location that the document is linked to. So it will pick up this floor plan or photograph or plan, whatever it is, and attach it to incoming issues. So I don't want to do that for that floor plan, I'll say no. But this is the link between key document and the view access. If I set view access here to site group, it's going to tell me, you can't do that. And you can't do that because this is a key document. A key document is going to be attached to outgoing works orders, and therefore this document must be viewable by people receiving those works orders. So in that case, it has to be services group, because service providers and contractors have to be able to access this document. Therefore, it's not going to let you, if you've set it as a key document, it's not going to let you set it to something more restricted. But if I took the key document flag off, remove the global key document flag from this document, and there's a warning, this document will no longer be automatically included with new works orders and inquiries unless it is flagged as a key document for individual links, which is another way of flagging up key documents. So I can say yes to that. That removes the key document. I could now say, okay, now I'm going to make this document private. No, I can't do that either. And I can't do that because there are links on the Links tab. And some of those links separately identify this document as a key document. So you can see there are all sorts of controls in here that pretty much ensure if you've said this is a key document either here or anywhere else in the system, and you try and restrict access to the document, it's going to say, no, you can't do that because it's linked to things where it's flagged as a key document. So you might be asking, well, it's not a key document here. Where is it a key document? So let's go through and have a look at some of these links and see if we can work that out. I'm going to go through to ground floor kitchen 16. And to give you an example here is our kitchen plan. And the K column in this list would indicate if it was a key document or not for this location. It's not currently for this location, but I can make it one by clicking in that column. Set the key document flag for this document, yes. And that shows up in orange. And it shows up in orange to differentiate the fact that this is a key document specifically where it is attached to this location. But on the document record itself, it's not a key document globally. Now, that might be a sort of confusing distinction. Let me try and explain how this works. If you set on the document record the key document flag, so let's go back to the document record. If I set this one, then wherever I link this document, it is considered to be a key document without me doing anything else. However, if I link the document to lots of different things, but I only want it to be considered as a key document in one or two of those cases, then, as I've just done at the Kitchen 16 level, I can go to the Docs tab for that object and tick the box at that point and say, this document is a key document for this location specifically, even if it's not considered a key document where it's linked to other things. And that allows you really to fine-tune the way in which documents are automatically shared, because remember, the key document flag controls automatic distribution. It will attach it to outgoing works orders. Potentially it attaches it also to incoming help desk issues and fault reports. A couple of other things quickly on the document record itself. I've got a tab here that says collaborators, and currently that's empty. If I add manually, if I add collaborators to this document, which I can do using the little plus button, so let's just add someone, add a name to the collaborators list. That takes me to my contact records. I'm going to add Andrew Walters, and Andrew Walters is now added as a collaborator for this document. That means that Andrew can also click the version upgrade button, for example. Other people who can view this document, general members of staff and so on, they're not going to have access to that. They'll see the document, fine. They can open the document record, they can see who it belongs to, but they won't be able to make changes here. They won't have the version upgrade button to work with, nor would they even have a delete button. They wouldn't have any of those options. But Andrew, because he's now sharing collaboration on this document, can do those things. We can take this a little bit further, because you might well be thinking, well, okay, if my main preference says documents that I upload are automatically shared with this group of people, but what if I want to share responsibility for maintaining the documents that I upload automatically with some other people? Do I have to go through and say, for each document, well, you are a collaborator, and add them manually? No, you don't. In your preferences, you have a tab that says Docs Sharing. And on the Docs Sharing tab, you can add names. And when you add names, it's basically saying these people are automatically going to share access to documents that I upload. And I can do that at one of three levels. So the V column is view only, so they will always be able to view them, even if they're set to something more restricted. The C column is collaborator level, so John Jones in this case is automatically a collaborator on any document that I upload. And the final and the most, the sort of broadest access would be a tick in the O column, which means they have shared ownership of a document. So in that way, you can specify as a manager, well, I've got a team of people that work with me, and basically any document that I upload, automatically I want to share with other people. You can do that at the preference level for your own preferences, and you can say automatically that happens. There's one other thing I want to point you in the direction of in terms of document management here, and that is that you can have a document control team. And a document control team would be a team of people that you set up as an employee team, and there's a specific tick box on the team record that you can set that would essentially allow any member of that team to have full collaborator ownership access to any document linked to any resource or other object that relates to the site that they work on. So let's have a look at the team setup record. Go to my manager home. I'm going to go to the employees tab. I'm going to go to the teams tab, and I have a team here that says document control. And if I click on that and select the setup tab for the document control team, you can see this setting down here that says enable document control level. And the choice I have are owner, collaborator, or none. But obviously, if I'm setting up a team for document control, I want one of either owner level or collaborator level. So owner level would allow them to do anything with the document, including changing the view settings, adding new collaborators, deleting documents if they've not got any history, and so on. If I don't want them to have quite that degree of access, then I can simply say, well, they're collaborators, they're not owners. Collaborators would, of course, allow them to upload new versions and maybe change some settings on a document, but they wouldn't be able to do things like delete it or change basic ownership. So in that way, you can set up a team of people who automatically can manage documents that have been uploaded by anybody that relate to things on the site that the document control team also works on. So that would include documents uploaded by members of staff linked to help desk issues, for example, as well as documents uploaded by external service providers and contractors linked to works orders that you've sent out to them. So it gives very broad control, and it's really worth remembering many sites have a requirement that one or more individuals have broad level of access to all documents relating to operations on the site. And really setting up a document control team is a very simple way of enabling that. I want to show you one more thing, perhaps before we finish, which is simply attaching a new document to an incoming help desk issue, because that gets used a lot. Many users of Flow360, if they're logging a new issue, will take a photograph of the fault or the problem at the point in time when they're logging the issue. So I'm going to go through. Let's say we've got a problem externally in the grounds with some paving slabs on one of the paths that go across the grounds. So I've gone to pedestrian pathway A, and I'm going to say we've got a problem here. And the problem is that we've got some slabs that are lifting. And I want to attach a photograph of this particular problem. So on the new issue record itself, I have, surprise, surprise, a docs tab. And I can click on that, and I can click on the button, and I can choose files from here. Remember, if you were on a mobile device at this point, you could click the Take Photograph button or select a photograph from the library on the device. Again, because I'm just working on the computer here, the only option I have is to select a photograph from my computer. So I've snapped a photograph of the problem paving slabs, and I'm going to click Choose on that, and we're going to upload it. So now I've got this document, this snap of the paving attached to my incoming fault report. So I click confirm on that, and helpfully, because that's the only document attached to the issue, and because it's a document I've attached to the issue when I logged it, that takes precedent over other documents that otherwise might show as the main document for this issue. So if I go to the Docs tab, I can see that it's also picked up asbestos register, because somehow we have asbestos across the entire site, but by way of an example. But the main photograph has been picked up at that point, and we can see that clearly that's there. What happens to this document? It gets passed on down the chain. So if I pass this issue on to somebody else to manage it, they'll see the photograph. If we send this issue out to an external contractor or service provider, the photograph goes with it, along with any other documentation they need. And that then becomes a permanent record. So once that's happened, in fact, right now, that document already has protected status, i.e. you can't delete it, because it's been linked to an incoming fault report. Back to the start, and let's just do a quick revision on how you find documents. Documents, of course, my documents library will show me all documents. But that documents library, you'll appreciate, is going to fill up very fast. You're going to have all sorts of things in there. And it makes very good sense that your documents are named in with some sort of strategy in mind. So, for example, I know that we have some documents in the library that are to do with table layouts when we're setting up events or making bookings. So if I click on table layout, if I put that into the quick find on the front screen, I can see all sorts of table layout documents, which are just images. They're just graphics of table room layouts for particular table settings. There's an example. And that allows me to find those things very quickly. Similarly, I know we've got various site plans in the system. So if I type in site plan, then I get a list of those. Now, obviously, the quick find is a very easy way to find documents. Sometimes you want to be a little bit more specific about what it is you're looking for. And in that case, you want to go to your documents list and use the find button. And the find button allows me to do all sorts of things. So, I can look for documents that have been added within a particular time frame, for instance. So let's say, documents have been added within the past month. And there we have a list of those. I can use the find and say, documents that were added by Tim within the past month, or documents that are of a particular file type, or documents that have a particular author attached to them, or a particular bit of custom text, or that are linked to particular objects. So I can go back through my site and say, find me all of the documents that are linked through to King's College. And it gives me a list of those. So always look at the filter panels. When you're working with things in Flow 360, the filter panels really give you enormous flexibility in finding a whole range of different things. We even have categorization lists that you can apply to documents, so that you can look for documents by category as opposed to name or who they were added by or what they're linked to. I think that sort of wraps it up today. We've covered really quite a lot of ground. So I'll just sort of go over again what it is we worked on. Simply adding a document to the document library, linking documents to objects, first of all, resources, locations, rooms, objects in rooms. We looked at adding new floor plans. We looked at setting the key image for a particular resource. And we also looked at the fact that the Docs tab is available on pretty much any object you look at in Flow 360, whether that's a resource or a works order or a contact record or an inspection or a booking or a help desk issue or a project. We've also had a look at the preferences and the way in which you can control how documents that you upload are initially added to Flow 360, and indeed some settings in your preferences that control who else you can automatically share those documents with. And then we had a look at the settings on the document record itself, the key document flag, setting that up, what that does in terms of controlling the distribution of the document. And then we've had a look at finding documents. We've had a look at version control. So I hope that's given you a better understanding, a more complete understanding of how you can use and manage and share documents within Flow 360.